Okay, Durham Region Branch acknowledges the lands and peoples of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and a large Métis community. We recognize the lands on which we gather are covered under the Williams Treaties and rest within the traditional territory of the Mississauga. We honor, recognize, and respect these nations as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet. So, my first piece of information is the Ontario Genealogical Society virtual conference, which is happening in September. It is to be held, it's going to be an area-specific conference, which is the Grand River Valley. It will start on Friday evening with a keynote presentation entitled Settlement Stories from the Grand River from historian Karen Richardson. She's the museum curator for the Haldimand County Heritage Center. On Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have two streams of content. One focused on stories from the Grand River, and the other exploring the other stream exploring some of the hidden histories with an eye on diversity. So I have a website there at the bottom of your screen, and it works right now. They're taking registrations right now, and it will continue to be updated in the coming weeks. And you can get an early bird price until June 30th. Members can pay $60. Non-members pay a little more. So, Conference 2024 is going to be our first in-person conference in 5 years. So, and it's going to be hosted by Toronto Branch. And it's just barely got a website up. They'll be doing more hosting after, more publicity after the September conference. OGS has a free webinar series monthly. So this coming Thursday at 7 p.m., one of our most respected speakers on the military, Mr. Glenn Wright, is going to be talking about the Mounties. So you don't want to miss that one. Toronto Branch has had a long history of excellent educational sources, courses. There are 2 courses coming up this spring, and both of them I think will be very interesting for everybody, and the second one in particularly for Durham Region. The first one is on Ontario immigration. It's a 3 lecture series, and these are the 3 lectures that will be happening. It's May 11th, 18th, and 25th. So it starts next week. You have a chance still to sign up. The cost is $35 or $30 for members of the Ontario Genealogical Society. Those are Thursdays, by the way. Here's one that's especially interesting to Durham Region. It is Cornish to Ontario in the early 19th century. It's a 2-part series. The first one is the Cornish to East Whitby Township. That's where we are right now, the people who are in person. We're in Old East Whitby Township, aka Oshawa City, which is now covers the whole of East Whitby Township. And then we have one of our local speakers and historians giving the second lecture in June on the Bible Christians, and that's a specialty of her. We've heard her speak several times, and it will be very good. OGS members pay $15 for the course. In local news, the Lakeshore Genealogical Society in Cobourg They're doing a hybrid meeting on the architectural heritage of Hamilton Township. And what it says about that is Tom Cruikshank will talk about the diversity of the buildings in the rural area around Coburg, including early families. And he promises a few surprises. That's all I know, folks. The other one is Uxbridge Genealogy Group. They meet the 18th, Thursday night at Uxbridge Public Library. They do have a Zoom portion, but you have to be a member to get the link. And we have Janice Nickerson. Sorry, Janice. Janice Nickerson speaking to us next month. And beyond the book, fun ideas for showcasing your research. And this is what you do if you don't want to write that 500-page book. As always, if you find our presentations valuable and you enjoy them, and you feel like making a donation, on the very front page of our website, this is what the button looks like. And we make the use of that money to pay for speakers. You will receive a tax receipt if it's over $20, I believe it is. Now, volunteers are always welcome. And distance no longer matters because we've now got the infrastructure, like Zoom, to have a meeting with anybody, anywhere. So if you can help in any way, contact me. Please help us keep our branch vital, vibrant, and moving forward with our projects. What are your strengths? I'm sure we can match you up with a project, believe me. And speaking of volunteers, Bob Halfyard has had to tender his resignation because of eyesight problems, but he has been doing indexing for us. I don't know, I can't even remember how long he's been doing it. So thank you, Bob, for your many years of Tony indexing. At this point, I'm just going to introduce Larry, and he will take over the screen. So, Larry has been the chairman of the Sunderland and District Historical Society for almost 20 years. I think I'm not up there. Not yet. I'm close. Well, sort of halfway. His ancestors came to Brock Township from Mayo County, Ireland in 1822, and the Doble family has been here for 7 generations. His family tree computer data bank has 62,000 names, and it links many of the early families of Brock Township. I'm sure they intermarried quite a bit. So, the township itself opened up in 1818, and at this point, I will stop my sharing and we'll get Larry set up and going. Thank you so much, Larry, and you brought so much personality and humanity, and boy, we know more about the families of Brock Township than we probably wanted to. Unless we happen to have families in Brock Township, in which case I'm sure it was very, very enlightening for our audience. Okay, I'm just going to start sharing again just to finish off some of our announcements about future meetings. So, DNA Special Interest Group, our next meeting is May 17th. That's a Wednesday night. It's a closed group in that since we share dashboards of other people's names that we don't have permission to show online, we do request you to send an email to me, and I will make sure you get the announcements and the links. Okay. At the end of the month, May 25th, we have a social drop-in, okay? And I think I forgot to say at the beginning for everybody who's here, there's some drinks over there if you'd like some. Okay, go help yourself. I won't be offended if you stand up and go. Unfortunately, those of you at home, you'll have to get your own drinks. Now, since using Zoom, we've really missed those social break times we used to have in the middle of our meetings. So this is the replacement. Come on and join us. We had a good group last week. Really good group, lots of good discussion. Come and join us, and I need to tell you where the link is. So the link is on the front page of our website. Just go there, scroll a little bit until you find a picture of a bunch of people talking on a picture inside a computer. And you can register and come and join us. And the research room, our research office library, is all here in the Northminster United Church. We do have 2 days specially set aside for people to make appointments to come and do research. Those aren't carved in stone. We've had several researchers who come on other days of the week by letting Steve Wood know that they couldn't come on Fridays. And they arranged appointments with him, and they came on Thursdays, I believe it was. So the whole key is get a hold of Stephen Wood. This is his email address, and set up your appointment and come on in and see those books that we have for Brock Township and the mats. But you must make an appointment because we have to make sure that the church is open for you to get to our room, and that will be available. But we do our best to accommodate. So don't be scared to contact Steve. Our next meeting, June the 6th, 4 proven strategies for overcoming research obstacles with Janice Nickerson. And this is what she says. Are you stuck? Have you tried everything to solve your genealogical puzzle? Professional genealogist Janice Nickerson will share 4 proven strategies she uses every day to overcome her clients' research obstacles. These strategies apply to any family history problem, whether you're seeking living relatives or long-dead ancestors in Whitby or Wuhan. September will be Leanne Kruger telling family stories in 15 minutes a day. In October, in honor of Canadian Women's Family History Month, we have Glenn Wright talking about proudly she served Canadian women at war. November has not been confirmed yet, so I can't tell you about that one. And December will be our annual Christmas show and tell. So during our chat time, I'm going to ask people to, on Zoom, we'll see how this works, to turn on your microphone and chat. And what do you think about this year's conference being smaller, more area specific in format? Do you like that idea or do you hate it? So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll see who unmutes and wants to join us and talk. You can turn on your cameras too if you want. So, showing us here. Okay. Put it in the chat if you're trying to unmute and you can't. I guess no one has anything to say, either that or I'm just not being lucky with the setup. Okay. Anybody in the room care about it? Anybody have a good story that they want to tell? Okay.
We have a lot of challenges, as well as in this area, Eastern Ontario.
Okay, just a minute.
People in Zoom can't really hear you. It would help. Oh, are you sure this? Oh, yes, it will. we have a lot of relatives in other parts of the Rio. And a lot of what he was saying about the problems that they had when they first came and the provinces or the problems with the small towns and railways and no railway is the same all across our country.
Good comment, thank you. Larry, did you want to say anything to that?
Yeah, I think that's true. And actually, when I was doing some research about Brock Township, the people in Brock Township were real pioneers, whereas in Whitby and Toronto and stuff, they were years ahead because they had railroad systems and railways and communication. In Brock Township, you were very much on your own. I can remember my grandmother would put down a whole basement full of preservatives. I didn't know this, but what she would do is she would partially cook up the pork chops, put them in a big crock, and cover it with lard and put it in the basement. And with the beef ring, she would be chopping up the meat into sections, and you had to have a beef ring because you had no refrigeration system. My grandfather had horses until the 1940s, and you almost had to have a family of 8 or 10 children just to run the farm. And it was a small mixed farm. You had chickens and pigs and cattle and a dairy. None of these big operations now. And my grandfather used to plow the road with a team of horses in the winter. So they were very independent. The way you got things done was through a working bee. If you built a barn or you had some major project, your neighbors helped you. And you were a true pioneer, but you were on your own.
That was a really good glimpse into life at Brock Township, I have to admit. I'm a city gal. I grew up in Windsor. That's an eye-opener for me. Okay. I see Doug Hately coming up on my screen. Doug, did you want to say something?
No, I just unmuted myself. I think you're just getting an echo of my mic here.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Is there anybody who'd like to put up their hand and say anything? You're all being shy this month. Very shy.
I'm just wondering, do you have any stories or little hidden tidbits about William C. Jones of Brock Township? He was an early settler, I believe. You know that Sunderland was originally called Jones's Corners because the Jones brothers owned the very four corners of the township, of Sunderland. They ran the tavern, they had the hotel, and it wasn't until the railway went through in 1868 that the name was changed to Sunderland. And I always wondered why the name was changed to Sunderland. Where did this come from? And then I learned that Queen Anne's Secretary of State, who brought all those Palatines from Germany to England, was the Earl of Sunderland. So I think the Palatines remembered that, and it just seems that is such an unusual link. But certainly, the Jones brothers developed the first subdivision, I think around 1870, the first subdivision in Sunderland, and but then that family kind of disappeared. I don't know what happened to them.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think at this point in time, I'm going to declare the meeting finished, and we hope to see you all or hear you all, or at least read your names in the chat next month. Thank you very much.